You are now listening to the Building with AI Promises and Heartbreaks podcast, brought to you by Solid.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Building with AI Promises and Heartbreaks. Today, I have Nimrod Fisher with me. Nimrod has spent more than a decade in data and analytics at companies you know, Checkpoint, Optimove, SimilarWeb, and ZoomInfo, working across the stack from hands-on roles to leadership. About a year and a half ago, Nimrod took the plunge into independent consulting. Since then, he's been helping teams bring AI into their everyday work, running workshops, testing new tools, and building practical data solutions that push what's possible with AI. Outside of work, he's proudly married to Liat and is dad to 3 awesome kids, Noam, Nadav, and Gal, the true secret behind his multitasking superpowers. Nimrod, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here with me.
Thank you, Yoni. Thank you for inviting me.
So, a year and a half ago, and you take the plunge. You decide, I'm going to do independent consulting. I'm going to help people learn how to bring AI into their data. What caused you to think about that? Where'd that come from?
Well, during my career, I started to get to know different data roles, from data engineering and data science and analytics, and then I understood that I have an experience where I can leverage with like different projects, working with different industries, and this is a good opportunity to try this out, like in the middle of my career. So I took this challenge.
That's quite a challenge. I know it's probably pretty daunting to go and say, okay, I'm gonna leave the normal job and go start something on my own. And well, you picked a pretty hot space, a pretty interesting space. So, I obviously follow you on LinkedIn quite a bit, and I see your posts on new use cases and flows that you're building. Here's a GPT for this, here's a gem for that. Where are you focusing on? Where are you focusing your efforts, would you say? And why?
So I think that I learned over the years that there are like many pains in the analytics role, where this is an amazing opportunity for AI to help us solve and refocus our work on new areas. And this is why I'm really enthusiastic about these AI bites that I can try myself and then share with the world, that they can save them time and really put the analysts where they should be, like in a strategic position.
So analysts are going through a bit of a change these days with AI. It's right now it's towards the end of 2025. Where do you think analysts are going to be in 2026, 2027? How do you think things are going to change with AI?
Uh, so I think there are like many approaches about where it goes, but like my personal take, that there is a shift in this road towards two main areas, I would say. One of them is being more owner of the data preparation processes, systemize them, and focus on not garbaging in, because this is crucial. The other thing is, I think that analysts will be more integrated into the business, because they bring the data superpowers, but they also need to understand the business better. They need to work more close with their stakeholders, and so they can have a greater impact. So understanding what's going on in the ecosystem, understanding what's going on uh, in a product, this is not optional anymore. Analysts are not going to keep delivering dashboards and reports just like a few years ago, and this is like where I think the role is going towards.
So they have an opportunity essentially to get closer to the business and do maybe less technical things a bit because some of the technology is taken over by AI, and then they can get closer to the business and leverage that more. Is that the right way to think about it?
100%.
Okay. Um, by the way, it's interesting. So when I asked people here on the podcast this question, some people say, okay, analysts are going to become more engineering, more analytics engineers. They're going to go closer and closer to the data engineering and pipeline side. And then some say, well, it's actually, they're going to go closer to the business. Obviously, any given analyst will choose which way they want to go. But I think the agreement is that the main body of content where analysts today are building dashboards and doing the same reports again and again, that's slowly going to be gone, and they're going to gravitate either one way or the other. Is that kind of do you agree with that, or am I off?
Yeah, so I think what you said that most people are saying is my first direction,
Hmm.
but also like being more integrated is like the what I think would be the best positioning for analysts going forward, because yeah, there's a lot of like small repetitive tasks that can be solved with AI, so this can spare the time for analysts to do more strategic work.
Okay. But this saying of analysts are going to be gone and there are not going to be any more analysts, do you disagree? Agree? I see you do nodding no, so no.
No, no, I completely disagree. I do think that it's gonna be like that. This role is changing, and people who not adapt to this change will just be like not will not keep the pace and understand that, like, okay, some of the BI tasks can be done with AI, some of my work can be automated, and I need to do something a bit different. And if I'm
Mhm.
not going to do something a bit different and will adapt myself, then I will be replaceable. But if I'll use it as a brand extension, and it will make me a much better analyst, than much better a new analyst. So this is where I think it goes.
So it's an opportunity to grow. So that kind of brings me to the workshops that you do. So, first of all, what are the types of companies that are reaching out to you and bringing you in for the workshop? Is there any consistency, or are you seeing all kinds of companies coming to you?
So it's usually like SMB and above, like companies with like already strong foundations of data,
Mhm.
with more than 7, 8 analysts in the
Mhm.
team. And yeah, the stack is usually very different from one company to another. But the challenges are sometimes very common. Like they all know they need to adopt. They all see very sexy demos of things that are working great and want to get there. And this is where I think it takes time and exploration to understand where the opportunities to get closer to a solid infrastructure, that is like ready for AI. And yeah, like there are many opportunities for different analytics tasks, and this is what I'm trying to do, to
So,
provide this knowledge.
oh, is that because somehow solid? The name solid somehow always comes
I
into
didn't
thing.
mean to, but
Yeah, yeah,
it's just
yeah.
too solid.
Yeah, just for the audience, I didn't ask him to do that. Yeah, we got a pretty good name, obviously. So okay, so they're looking to build. They're seeing these demos. There's this FOMO, fear of missing out. Everybody's doing AI. I want to do AI too. How do I do AI? How do I go about it? And they bring you in, and they have, as you said, at least 7, 8 analysts, maybe more. They bring you in, and what what does a workshop look like? Like what's in there for them?
So I do build constantly building. Just a side note, I thought it's gonna be some point like a product, but the pace is just insane. So
Mhm.
I need to update the content every day almost, because
Wow,
new
that's
models are
crazy.
coming out, prompting is changing, context engineering is changing. So I try to build like a buffet of examples and practical use cases, and then I prioritize with data managers like um, what they want the team to learn by order. But it's usually around it really depends on like their needs and their challenges. Could be around documentation tasks and how LLM can help systemize this process. I do like to use the word systemize and not just automate, because it takes more than just automation. It's more about it's also about education and building processes, not just automating stuff for the sake of automation.
I like that.
I do go over data analysis tasks. For example, I do think it's a different topic, but balancing, vibe analytics, the sexy vibe analytics with dashboarding, is what I think is a key in the near term, because not every data question actually deserves or requires building a new dashboard. It means um, sometimes someone who will build it, someone who will maintain it. It has a cost.
Mhm.
So some of the question may be answered with like vibe analysis, and I think it's worth understanding the limitation and of using LLMs for analytics, and how to do it right and gradually and so on. So this is another aspect. There are a lot of tips about like storytelling, whether it's going over tours, all those capabilities of text to slides and text to visuals, and how to sharpening the message for like analytics text. So these are some of the topics that we cover.
So basically, there are multiple needs, different needs that they have: documentation, analytics, as a partial alternative to dashboarding in some use cases, building stories, and more. And you're basically saying AI can help you do these different things, and I'm here to. I basically have different ways you could use AI, and I'm here to teach your team or show your team how to use AI for specific use cases, right? Is that a correct way to think about it?
Yes, yes. These are like the foundations, and there are many ways to implement it. Whether they work
Yeah.
with custom GPTs or GEMs, or in Visual Studio Copilot with like chat modes, or with cursor rules. They're like different ways to implement these solutions like systematically.
Hmm.
Um, so these are like also like we're going over the foundations, the opportunities, and then we discover the ways to implement them.
Okay. Now, when thinking about the teams that you worked with, how often is it that you come there and they already have some experience? They've worked with ChatGPT, Claude Code. They use Cursor already. Like they're already using some tools in this space and have some ability, or maybe they have no idea, or maybe it's something else. Like where do you usually find them in terms of maturity of really understanding how to leverage AI tools in their day to day?
Yeah, it's a great question, because it's something that I think about very often. The variance across companies and also within companies is huge. Like you can go to like a company where you say LLM, and they ask you, can you clarify what this means? And you can go to some companies who are like much more advanced, and they already built an agent in production, and they want something pretty different. So, and also like within a team, there are like some people who are very um, like experience with building in GPT or in Cursor, and they just understand the potential. And there are some people who, and it's a challenge, to find the right balance so everyone will get value from this conversation, to speak, in a way that everyone can connect. Um, so so yeah, like I can't say like that it really depends on, I think, the um and like organizational mindset. Some companies are do understand that documentation is like by far the most important thing, and it should come from like top to bottom, and it means investing in like systemizing this documentation because this is the context for LLMs. And in some companies, it's just data teams are working like in silos, and this is a challenge for them because their context for their analytics task, it depends on other departments.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like um, it's a tricky question, and it's hard to find a solution. You really need to adjust the way you speak and what you teach about AI because of this variance.
Yeah, you need to tailor it. So do you need to do you do like a survey prior or something like that where you say, hey, here's a bunch of questions. Do you know what LLM is? Have you used ChatGPT? Like, do you sort of survey before you come in to sort of understand the ground, or what do you do?
Yes, but it's not about like, do you know, have you heard about? It's more of how often do you use AI? Which AI
Mm-hmm.
tools do you use? Where it meets you in your day to day? What are your main challenges? And then I'm like, obviously using Claude to summarize it as an artifact, and trying
Of course.
and try to get like every stat with how we're gonna approach it today
Mm-hmm.
in the workshop. And then it also, tells me maybe I don't have a good answer for it yet, and we need to find a AI-based solution for this. So,
Interesting. Okay. Um, when you obviously started this a year and a half ago, you probably had some notion, like some ideas. You're like, okay, this is how it's going to look like. This is what I'm going to do. This is, the type of people I'm going to meet, etc. Are there things that you thought would be true and turned out to be untrue, or things that surprised you? Like you were like, oh, everybody's going to know how to use X and they don't, or some kind of notion you had before you started this that you realized in reality that's not what was happening?
um, so what I learned is that what um, attracts me, because this is like kind of what I'm building my expertise around, is not necessarily attracts people working on their day-to-day tasks and they're fully focused on on checkboxing. And when I go to companies and then talk about operational efficiency opportunities to build no-code solutions, and some of them is like the first time for them to see no-code apps like Base 44 or Lovable or
Mm-hmm.
building with Cursor. So I think this is something that I thought most people will get very excited about, but not necessarily. Some people are just focused on their day to day, and you really open their eyes when you show them something that they would expect to be like a product living for 2 3 years, and but you build it like in a week, and it's not me, it's like the tools that are like enabling it.
So you went into this with the thought of everybody's now playing with AI. Like you're in this box on LinkedIn and you see Base 44 and you see Lovable and you see, everyone's talking about AI, 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 AI. And then you go out to these people and you realize actually some of these people don't even think about it. They haven't tried any of these products. They haven't. or technologies. They haven't thought about it. They were just kind of going about their day to day. And you come in and, for a few hours there, you kind of show them, hey, there's a different way to do this, and you can actually do things you never thought about before. Do they walk away saying, okay, that was amazing, and now I got to do it? Or do those kind of people walk away and say, well, that was nice, but I'm going to go back to how I was doing things always so far?
So I would say it's like open their mind in many ways, but for them to really try this out, they need a push from the company. They need, whether it's like an organized AI hackathon or from their manager, or they need to be measured about what they do with AI, and like whether it's OKR, they need to have like good, the way I see it, a good incentive to adopt these technologies. Apart from it's cool, I know it can be efficient, but I have 10 other tasks that I need to complete by the end of this week. So I would say it will not, it doesn't come like in silo of I'm coming for a workshop. It needs for like true continuation. They need the push. They need like they need to be evaluated about it. And
Yeah, so doing it just like as a one shot, few hour workshop and then moving on, won't do much. Okay, great. They spent a few hours, they learned something new, but they're not going to actually invest in it without the support. Um, I did have here on the podcast a few episodes ago a woman named Minal, and she's the VP of data at SurveyMonkey. What she does is a hackathon once a month, half a day on a Friday. And so there's continuance to this thing. Instead of just doing like, hey, we're bringing in Nimrod for a few hours and that's it. And, you got your dose of AI. What she says is, no, every month I want my people spending time on it. I'm willing to dedicate a few percentage, like I think it was like 5% of their time to this thing. And they end up working on it, in the afternoons and evenings and things like that, like because they get excited. So I think your point is, okay, this shouldn't be just a drop. It needs to be consistent. It needs to come from the top down with some kind of encouragement to tell people, okay, you should do this. We want you. The company wants you to do this. Wants you to explore these things. Do you go to the data managers, to the people who brought you in, the people who reach out to you and said, "Hey, Nimrod, come do this workshop"? Do you go to them and say, "Hey, workshop, great. I highly recommend that there's a top-down drive here, motivation to keep people at it at the organization"?
so what I'm trying to do, I'm kind of like following up with them. The way I built it is like I've built like 2 sessions workshop. And between the first session and the second session, the team have some time to implement the solutions that we brainstormed about, whether it's like custom GPTs or jams or other solutions. And then we go over this what they built, because I do want to leave them with something they can use on their daily work. And then, like, in addition, if they want, after the workshop, they can meet with me for like 2 sessions of like 30 minutes to follow up on things, because sometimes it takes, sometimes for things to sync. So this is what I'm doing. And in addition, I'm following up with the data managers just to see where it goes. I think there's also like, it's important the timing of the workshop, because if it's close to like a AI hackathon where they can use what they learned and build new things, this is like a starting of a process for them, where they end up with something that the team actually can say, okay, we learned like the know-how from the workshop, then we build something because we have this dedicated time for building this, and it's measurable. like this, what we built here saves us this amount of time or improves our accuracy or outcomes as a team.
Okay, so you're making sure that there's some follow through and it's connected to something else, and that's really important. Um, okay, so switching a bit here, you've played with all kinds of different tools. What let's say I'm an analyst and I'm starting out. I'm starting to play with things. Where do you recommend I go first? Like, where do you recommend I start?
Um, I think to get started is not trivial for everyone.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back. Like
Okay,
even
that's good.
before
Yeah.
even before the tool you choose to start up with, just to get started, to get your hands dirty, this is something super important. Whether once you understand what we talked before, that it's no longer optional to learn this knowledge, and then you take your first step. And this is the first thing. Um, what I did recently, and I would recommend, is there was a common question about, this looks cool. What you showed with LLMs look like it's a great framework to do data analysis, but how can we like systemize it? How can we connect it to our data and make sure it's not a one-time thing? Because we are trying um, to automate things. So I chose recently Streamlit as a great framework to develop in Python. Whether you like it's a low code, you need to have like familiarity with Python, obviously, but not that much. It's you can start and start small and like scale from there. And it's a platform that allows you to actually connect to APIs. For example, the LLM that you choose on one side, and to databases. Whether you work with Snowflake or Postgres, Snowflake has an advantage here because Streamlit is now a Snowflake
Yep.
company. It's like from security perspective, it's better, but you can also like build apps and deploy them by yourself or use Streamlit host. So I would go with that. I would brainstorm with Claude. This is what I like to do. Brainstorm with Claude about the plan, about what I'm gonna do, and building the instructions. And then I start in my IDE developing it with Streamlit, and it's very. I think the biggest thing now that's happening now. It's all very, and also a trap. It's very much interactive. You can build things and test them immediately. Um, so what I built recently actually is just breaking down this chat with your data process, and then you can better learn and understand what context is important and what's not, and it's great for this learning process. Um, so these are like Claude and Streamlit are like my most recent tries, and I would recommend them.
Okay, so if I connect a few dots, so first of all, I like how you're making the distinction between automating and systemizing. You don't want to just automate a process. You want a system around it to make sure that it's happening again and again, and that somebody's using it and the outputs are useful and so forth. So you're thinking about the system, which I think is really important because a lot of times people are like, "Oh, hey, look, I automated this thing." Like, okay, now what? So thinking about the system is super important. Um, the other part around Streamlits and Python, etc. So obviously, most analysts they can write SQL, right? That's like a requirement in in being an analyst. So are you saying for an analyst to go and pick up Python, not very elaborate Python, but basic Python that you would use in Streamlit or something like that, you think that's like a good step for them to learn that a bit and then start building a little app in Streamlit that brings in some basic capabilities, LLMs, et cetera, you think, it should be a not trivial maybe, but a natural way for them to go? Do you think?
Yeah, I think Python is like the most convenient language for analysts, because when
Yeah.
you build like React application with like Lovable or Replit or Base 44, then you don't have full visibility into what's going on behind the scenes.
Hmm.
You're not sure if it's like too messy, how it needs to clean up. And especially when it comes to data, when you work with Python based tool like Streamlit, I think you can create this visibility. You can make sure you're writing like an explainable code so you can understand every function what it does. And when you build the application, I think like transparency is super important. Like if I want to create like a sample chat with your data app, I would want to have an understanding of the reasoning process of the SQL that was generated, and not just jump straight from a question to insight, because
Hmm.
I don't have a way to validate the process in this way. And also, when you try to
Yeah.
scale, you need to validate these queries. This one
Yeah.
works well, and why, and this one didn't work well, and why. Um,
Yeah.
so this is like kind of
So,
from my
so it gives you
experience.
control. So
Mhm.
writing in Python gives you control instead of like the lovable base 44, like, black boxy kind of thing. Writing your own code in Python gives you control. Um, the what you talked about with the plan and building the plan with Claude Code is now becoming more and more common. It actually came up in multiple episodes recently with Joel Ron from Thomson Reuters and Tomasz from Theory Ventures. Um, we've seen it a lot at Solid too, where you want to work with the AI to build a plan before you build something. So instead of just, because like the lovable and base 44 and great technologies, but their approach is there's a box and you come in and you say, okay, what do you want to build today? And then you come in and you start telling them. Whereas there's this approach that instead of doing that, saying, okay, I'm going to go to Claude and I'm going to say, I want to build an app, that will do chat with your data in Streamlit. Let's think about how it's going to look like. And then there's back and forth with the AI where we slowly plan out building the PRD, the product requirements document. But basically, sort of slowly building that out and then saying, okay, now I know what I'm going to build. Now I can go build it manually or use AI. But that notion of planning first is something that it's a recurring theme that I'm hearing more and more and more. And so you're saying that's key here to get this right, to get this to work correctly, right?
Yeah, because it's really tempting to jump straight to building,
Hmm.
but this is such a mandatory phase, because there are so many components that you need to consider before you start building,
Hmm.
that the like as fast as you get from 0 to 70%, then the hardest part is taking this 70 to 100. And if you don't plan properly, then you'll probably just jump to another idea, because it gets nowhere. And
Yeah. So and then you're gonna just be stuck in a loop and going nowhere, which makes sense, right? We should plan. When you're building something, you should plan. You should draw. You should think about what it is that you're going to be building before you start. So it makes sense that we would do it here. Okay. So essentially, when people are thinking about building, starting with AI, they should maybe think about a Streamlit app that they would build, and use Claude. It's a good way that worked for you. I'm pretty sure I saw on your LinkedIn you kind of going through an example of what you built and how it works. Is that right? I think I saw that maybe a few weeks ago, even. Um, that's right, right? I've seen that. Yeah. So um, if people want to find that what you built as an example, or where should they go, where can they find like examples of things that you built and kind of you going through them?
so I'm posting on LinkedIn. I just
Hmm.
started This year, actually, just I think like with the concept of like build and share.
Mhm.
And so this is where I'm mostly this is my only social network, active social network. But I'm going to because I accumulated like many use cases and tools like this. I decided to take it to the next step and build like a database of use cases and content. So I plan to like make it accessible for people, for the data analytics community to come and consume AI solutions for analytics, for different use cases, for tools, for MCP servers and things like this, because LinkedIn is very hard to navigate and find the content that you're after. And I also plan to like open it for like the community to contribute, because I'm not the only one working on AI solutions. So if they can contribute and at some point we can build like an huge rug over this data so people can come and chat with like, I'm doing this, is there a like a known solution for this they can suggest about MCP servers or use cases that some people already tried out, and I think it may be useful.
So you're going to take all that knowledge that you're sharing on LinkedIn, that you're sharing on the workshops, you're going to bring it all into one website and catalog and organize it, and then make it also easy for people to navigate and say, oh, hey, I want to try to, I want to try my first project, or I want to do vibe coding, or I want to do there's a concept called EDA, exploratory data analysis, right? You use that in years. I'm just explaining it for the audience. And so I want to do EDA with AI. How do I do that? So they'll go to that website and they'll be able to, start and get ideas for what tools to use and how to build it and how to build sort of their own first steps, forays into this world, right?
Yeah, with
Yeah.
no code development, obviously. Yeah, but there is like I mean, we are all, a community experiencing new stuff, and there's so much to
Mhm.
learn from each other. I think it's worth
Yeah.
centralizing this knowledge in one place. So
Yep.
this is why I decided to invest some time in it.
Yeah, that's amazing that you're doing that. And yeah, it's we call this a global experiment. Everyone is it's an experiment. We're all going through at the same time. We're all learning. We're falling in the same pitfalls. We're making the same mistakes, but we're learning from each other. And it really feels like, humanity is learning the fastest we've ever learned about something, because so many people are sharing what's working for them and what's not, and in so many different places. So hopefully, by the time that this episode goes live, we'll have, that website will be live. Uh, you're probably going to link to it from your LinkedIn profile. Is that a correct assumption? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I need to figure out the plan about this, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So for those listeners who are listening to this episode, um, by the time you hear this, go and look for Nimrod Fisher on LinkedIn, and follow him. Maybe by then that website's going to be live and there's going to be a link. But really, it's super interesting to follow and learn from everything that he's sharing. And it's, you're doing a service to the community by sharing all these things. So thank you for doing that. Um, we are now going into a bit of a lightning round, and I'm going to ask you some questions, and try not to think before you answer me, and then I'll ask you for a follow up. Okay. So it's just 4 questions. So try to just shoot whatever comes from, in your mind when I say this, and then we'll dig into it. So first one, by the way, you ready? Is it good? Yeah. Okay. First one is AI tool you can't live without.
ChatGPT,
ChatGPT. Why?
because it was the first one.
Do you remember where you were when it came out by any chance? Like, do you remember that time period?
I worked at Zoom Info, and then
Mhm.
I was not so much on LinkedIn. But then I saw like a cool post that like there is a chat where you can literally ask question. It's like a robot that can answer questions. And then I went to try this out. It was not great back in these days, but it was really hard. It was really easy to get disappointed very quickly, but it
Hmm.
was really hard yet to understand the potential.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny we say that, like, it was disappointing. And and it's funny to say that, right? Because obviously today, AI is doing so much. Like, before I came to sit with you, I watched my son ask ChatGPT to help him prepare for a vocabulary test he has tomorrow in school. So he took photos of the vocab, the words that he needs to learn, and he told ChatGPT, okay, now test me. And ChatGPT is just talking to him. He's like, hey, okay, how do you define this word? Or what does this mean? And what's the word for this? And this is natural for us right now. We're like, yeah, of course. But end of 2022, it was different to your point. Okay, next question. An AI myth you'd bust in one sentence.
Um, AI is not using the web by default. Sometimes you get some people would think that if I ask a question that is from the last relevant for the last period of time, then it would probably go and search for it. It's not necessarily work like this. It will by default go over the train data, and if you like explicitly say search the web, it will search for it, because at the end of the day it's like a business, and searching the web costs money, and it will try to save these resources whenever possible. So I
Mhm.
think this is something that not everyone knows.
Yeah, people. Yeah, people are not aware of that. It's a good point. I didn't think about it, but now that you say it, I notice that people are unaware of that situation, and they sometimes need to prod AI to do the search. Um, Favorite book, podcast, or resource for builders,
um,
other than your website that you're building and the podcast that you're on. So something else.
so I mainly consume my knowledge on LinkedIn. There's some
Mhm.
great creators that just in a way echoing new features, but it's like a great opportunity for me to go and try.
Mhm.
So this is where I keeping the pace. um um eh, I think like 1 or 2 years ago, I tried to listen to there are like good AI podcasts, like in Hebrew.
Mhm.
But I couldn't, you know, didn't find the time to keep listening, and so LinkedIn is still my go-to uh, for
Is
this.
there someone you follow on LinkedIn that you would recommend other people follow too, by any chance?
Yeah. So in the like Israeli community, there are great people sharing AI news, like Amitai Bonen or Rubinstein. And so I do like whether it's about marketing, whether it's about product. Um, so I do follow them, and they generate great content.
Is that
They generate
Amitai
content.
Gonen with a G?
Bonet, Bonet,
Oh, with a B?
Boneh. Yeah.
Bonnet. Oh, Amitai Bonnet. Oh, AI with Amitai. Oh, nice. Okay, so Amitai. Oh, he's got a lot of followers. This guy, 30,000 followers. So, if anyone wants to look this guy up, his name is Amitai, Amitai Bonnet, Boneh. And you can follow him for practical AI use cases, and he posts quite a bit. Yes, he does post in Hebrew, but luckily LinkedIn and
Make
can
it easy to
translate. You
translate.
can click translate, And at this point, AI is pretty good at it. So, it's that's pretty good research. I'll follow that too. Okay. One last question. One prediction for AI in the next 5 years.
AI will replace us all. No, I'm kidding. What prediction? So I do think that we'll all um, disappoint in a way and then build trust again. This will be the process with AI. Technology will move fast, but there will always be human in the loop to some extent. It's I will not try to give a prediction about how the world is gonna look like. But I do think that there are a lot of areas where, and like for example, marketing and customer success and support that will be automated. There will be leaner teams, but maybe more companies because it's easier to build products today. But it does not require as much headcount as it used to be in the past. So this is where I think it goes to. But it's really hard to predict.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But it is always interesting to listen to what people think, where it will go. You get all kinds of really cool ideas and answers. Um, yeah, and it makes sense. You may have more teams, more products, more companies, just smaller teams because each person can do more. So, um, yeah,
And
I agree with
maybe
you.
it will get, maybe it will get people closer because they would work in smaller teams. So this is kind of
I
a
like it.
compensation for the age that we are living at. Like
Yeah.
when machines and bots are doing some of the work, but you still need to work closely with people to execute over ideas.
Yep.
So it's a philosophical approach, but maybe it's an optimistic way to to look at what we're experiencing.
I like that. I think it's a great way to finish our conversation with optimism that people will get closer thanks to AI, which is great. I really hope that will be the case. Nimrod, thank you very very much for your time today and for joining me here in the podcast. And for those who are listening, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to right now. And if there's a thumbs up or a rating, please give us a thumbs up. That will always help. And see you on the next episode. Thank you. Thanks, Nimrod. Bye bye.
Thank you so much, Annie. Bye bye.